Pat McGuinness, National Housing Party, just out on the leafleting trail, mopping up some of the bits we need to do for the London local elections in Mornington Crescent, Camden, as people from this area will know. Yeah, I used to live in the blue block behind me, not for long, but this is the area sort of where I grew up, Camden, and so this is about the Rupert Lowe announcement of him announcing and starting a political party, and I'm just going to go through the positives and the negatives of what I can see with Rupert Lowe and his new party, Restore Britain. So I'm going to go through the positives first. Rupert Lowe is the first MP ever, a sitting MP ever, to say we need to completely stop accepting asylum seekers and refugees. You know, I haven't seen the concrete policy yet, but obviously they're not registered yet. That's one of the negatives, that they haven't been registered yet. But he's openly said it, that the whole asylum system needs to be scrapped, and that obviously would include leaving the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. That's how they're all getting in at Dover, and that option doesn't matter, you know, where they come from. That's the channel they're using to get into our country. It needs to be taken off the table. This is an emergency. The country's being destroyed. We're sinking as a nation. And one of my analogies is, you know, when a ship is sinking, you need to get every single person on that ship to the hole what's letting the water in. And that needs to be fixed first before anything else. You know, that's the most important thing. To permanently stop giving out UK passports to foreigners forever, not temporarily, not a suspension, not a moratorium, forever, right? It should never have happened in the first place, and that is my definition of a nationalist. If you think it's okay for foreigners to come in our country and then you give them UK passports and then they settle and all that, you think that's okay, you're not a nationalist, right? As people know, my stance is, if I was in control of this country, you know, 1946, I wouldn't have allowed any permanent settlement immigration, none. The only thing I think should be allowed is a marriage. You know, if someone falls in love with a native, you know, at least the children are going to have a connection to the country, and they're actually marrying into the country, so to speak. Anyway, that's another subject. So yeah, Rupert Lowe, first ever MP to openly say we've got to stop accepting refugees and asylum seekers. A positive thing that they didn't merge with Advance UK, because Advance UK are full of Zionists. You know, Ben Habib was going down to this Iranian demonstration making a speech about a foreign conflict, you know, and it's all for Israel's interest. So I'm highly suspicious of Advance UK and where they're getting their funding from, because a British patriot just wouldn't do that. Why would you do that? So that's a positive thing for Restore, not actually going forward with a merge, what was suggested. That's what I think has happened. They're not going to merge now. Too many Zionists in Advance UK. So also Restore Britain, Rupert Lowe, Charlie Downs, they're prepared to say what a British person is. And anyone with any brain cells will know British people are the native people of the British Isles, Great Britain and Ireland, right? So they're prepared to say what our identity is. Our identity has been stolen. It's a mass identity theft operation, what's happened. And, you know, we can't even say openly, well, actually, these people are not British, we are the British. So that's the first step to liberating and freeing the British people, is to recognise that we exist. Whereas all the other establishment parties, including Reform, they're not prepared to say it. So that's a positive thing. Wants to promote and restore Christianity. Christianity is the manual for humanity to move forward with. Humans need they need a manual book to follow, and that's the Bible. And anyone who can't recognise that must be thick. Even if you're an atheist, you don't believe in Christianity, you have to admit that our country was better when people were going to church. So that's a positive thing. You know, also talking about becoming a minority, that's a positive thing. It's not a good thing. You know, I reiterate, permanent settlement immigration is wrong. It's actually an anti-Christian concept, and Acts 17:26 clearly says God created the nations and their borders. A nation is for a specific group of people. So that's good that they're talking about restoring Christianity. That's very, very important and a positive thing. You know, but the identity thing, you know, the National Housing Party, we've got a policy to legalise white British group identity. Now, what does that mean? That means that the white British should be allowed to open a charity just for British people. They should be allowed to open their own businesses just for British people. They should be allowed to have a political party just for British people. And that is legalising our identity, because they have made it illegal to have our group identity officially recognised. So, you know, we're campaigning for that. We're also campaigning to ban abortion, so that we can increase the birth rate of the native population, and also, you know, the main thing is we need to stop permanent settlement immigration. That is the first thing what needs to be achieved. Also positive that Rupert doesn't seem to be acknowledging the politically correct language. He was, you know, he put out a statement not too long ago, you know, saying that all these politically correct words that the opposition call him, he doesn't care, and that's the way to go forward. However, they did kind of acknowledge them, you know, they got called Nazis and that, yeah, and that was quite recent. And what he should have said the same thing, like, you know, we don't acknowledge it, we don't care what you call us, because the public will realise that word is just ridiculous in 2025. Sometimes you need to let the public make their own mind up, and what I'm trying to say is we shouldn't be defending ourselves against these words, because you're only blaming another, like you're saying, well, actually there is real Nazis and they are evil, and, you know, there is real racists. They are, you know, you just got to say, no, don't defend yourself against any of it, but we mustn't call other people it either. So the politically correct one's really important. They're on the sort of right track for that. Can improve a little bit on that. Another positive thing is they said they're going to ban halal and kosher, and it's really promising that they mention kosher as well, because it's exactly the same slaughter, slow motion torture slaughter, that's what it is, and it's cruel to the animals. But there's other reasons we need to ban halal. If I know food is halal, I won't eat it, and same with kosher. But the halal is, the reason I don't want to pay for that is because part of the money goes to further Islam, you know, building more mosques and things like that, and we don't want any more mosques being built in this country. We don't want any more Hindu temples or synagogues being built in this country. We've got enough of all of those foreign religions in this country. So, yeah, there's, you know, 3 reasons I won't eat halal is a percentage of the money will go to furthering Islam. They're torturing the animal, and also I'm a Christian and I don't really want to eat food that a foreign religion that I don't acknowledge as a real religion, they're praying over the animal when they're being tortured. So that's that. They're all positive things. Just bear with me. These are the negative things. You know, I'll reiterate what I said earlier on. When you got a ship that is sinking, you need to find the hole, and you need to seal that hole, fix the problem, the hole that you got. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to get everyone who can help to fix that hole before you think about anything else. And you know, there's a lot of talk about remigration at the moment, and, you know, we all agree that all the illegals need to go. You know, most of this, well, all of the stuff what Rupert said in his announcement speech, all those people he said he wanted to, but I agree with, right? But if you go down the roads of trying to deport second generation who are born here, it's going to be a mistake, in my opinion. It's going to isolate your party. You're going to get more and more isolated. And like I say, we need to fix the whole first. That's the first goal we need to do before we have a discussion about all the other stuff. So yeah, it's like, you know, it's people don't really, a lot of these people calling for this have never been door knocking. You know, there's one or two probably have, and I respect them. They're entitled to their opinion, but for local politics, remigrating 20 million people, that's not gonna, your party's not gonna take off. So I think they got to really be clear what that policy is, and then, you know, because otherwise you're not gonna get anywhere. That's just my opinion. Yeah, so more of the negatives are, a lot of these people in Restore Britain, including Rupert Lowe, he was part of the Conservative. No, he was in Reform like a year ago. All these people was in Reform a year ago and was, you know, they was going along with it. And it was so obvious that Reform were not the answer. Plus, Rupert Lowe was in the Conservative Party for a very long time. You know, I don't know what the years he was in there for, but if someone is a genuine nationalist, why weren't they in the National Front or the BNP? You know, that's kind of like the test for me, because